Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers. Every Monday, I sit down to talk about recently watched movies with my dear friend and artist, Danny Haas.
Your calves alone.
And our own spiritual advisor, Protolexis.
I cannot confirm nor deny that the sandwich that I ate in honor of Michael Caine had anything to do with my sickness the following evening.
This episode continues our road to the Batman journey with Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, the big one. Is it still the best Batman movie ever? Or will we nitpick so hard Danny quits the show? Let's find out. Now. The vibe is electric right now. Last week, we had, quote, Batman call in to talk about Batman Begins.
Crazy.
An amazing experience, the three of us talking about Batman Begins. And we're continuing the Batman journey, the road to the Batman with The Dark Knight. Proto, how were you feeling when you woke up this morning knowing that you're about to talk about The Dark Knight, the film?
I thought, man, I got to write a synopsis for this. I got to check to see if Batman called in, was going to call in. I had a lot of work to do this morning, and I was trying to just organize my thoughts on what some are saying is an iconic landmark film in the cinematic universe of all superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of voicemails to get to, I can tell you that much.
We do.
A lot of VMs and letters to get to. We struck a chord.
A lot of weeping.
Yeah, I posted on our IG that Dark Knight was happening. Our DMs lit up.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not going to reveal any DMs because that would be improper, but they lit up. Should we talk about Nightmare Alley?
Oh, yeah. Talk about it.
I think both of you have seen this, right? I was shocked by the ratings on Letterboxd that I saw.
I've already talked about it. Let's hear Proto talk about it.
Nightmare Alley. So I had quite a weekend. I actually, when we finished the show last Thursday, that night I got sick, and I was sick all Friday and then into Saturday evening. So I haven't been this sick in a long time. So I was laid up in bed, and I got to watch some movies. So I watched, the first one I put on was Nightmare Alley. So this is the newest picture from Guillermo del Toro.
Right. The master of horror.
This is nominated, right? For Best Picture?
Yeah.
Best picture.
Yeah, babe.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous movie, man. It just, there's a feeling that I get with Del Toro movies, and I see why his movies get nominated. They almost feel like an ode to like cinema itself. Like he has like such good style, and like how authentic everything feels. And then it just feels like there's almost like this sentimental nod towards periods that Hollywood just loves. Like this is set, I think like late 30s, early 40s, has, noir vibes. And so if you don't know the basic premise is there's this guy played by Bradley Cooper who gets involved at a carnival, and he kind of learns the ropes of a particular act. He finds out that he does it well, and it kind of follows him and a few other characters along with him. But I mean, Bradley Cooper in this is fantastic. I really love him in this movie. I think he is too. And then what I was thinking, what Danny said last week of him being Indiana Jones, the scene of him in the bathtub. That's an Indiana Jones chest, if I've ever seen one.
Thank you.
Holy moly. This dude is jacked. He would be so jacked. Can you imagine him covered in sweat, no shirt, hat, whip at his side, gun on his thigh? He's got the khaki pants. He's got the loafers on. Like, are we going to the jungle? with Bradley Cooper right now.
Who do we have to write to get this going?
Yeah, this is real. I think Danny, you nailed it. He should be the next Indiana Jones.
There really is those vibes in this film. It really is.
Yeah.
Just feeling it. And, I always consider Bradley for comedy at this point, but I was remembering back to his days on Alias, and he's really good in Alias. And that's almost like my first introduction to Bradley Cooper. He plays Jennifer Gardner's best friend in that. And he just deals with a lot, and I really love him in that. And I would like to see him at this point, yes, as Indiana Jones, but in more action films where he's playing a serious role, because he's great in this one too. Nightmare Alley, he's so solid.
Can you imagine a Danny and Beck's Alias podcast just for patrons?
Yeah. Yeah.
Drip those episodes out once every few months.
7mm.
480p.
This is a 480p pod.
What was that role? What was the big one he did with Lady Gaga? Star is Born?
Yeah.
When he played Eddie Vedder.
I did not see that.
I loved him in that too. People are saying Nightmare Alley's too long. I think people have a valid point. It does feel long, but I thought it was just so beautiful to look at. Like, I was fine with being in this world for 2.5 hours.
How about that bar lounge that he performs in?
Yeah, it's unreal. The sets in this are just insane.
Mm-hmm. Insanely
Kate Blanchett
gorgeous.
has this unreal office.
The whole time.
Yeah, her look. Ugh,
I can't believe what I'm hearing right now about this movie.
Stop it. I think Toni Collette, though, was my favorite. I love her as Xena.
And everything.
I gave it 4 stars. Yeah.
You gave it more stars than me.
Blessings.
Wait, was this right after you ate those sandwiches for our show? When you were doing your Michael Caine bit?
Was that
what was
what
in
got you
those
sick?
Sammys? Did you eat bad ham?
Egg salad.
I cannot confirm nor deny that the sandwich that I ate in honor of Michael Caine had anything to do with my sickness the following evening.
Getting his comeuppance for that bit.
I did watch a few. You know what I did this week? I promised myself I'd never do this, but I resubscribed to Hulu.
Oh gosh,
my least favorite streaming service, because it has some movies on there that I've been wanting to watch. So I watched Pig, the Nicolas Cage joint that was on there, and then Spencer. I watched that as well,
yeah.
and then it has Titan.
Did you watch
Titan?
that?
No, but I'm gonna watch that next. That's the other one that I want to watch.
Oh my God!
So
this is a renaissance for Proto.
I mean, you fit it in within 1 month. You cancel it. You're free and clear of Hulu again. But yeah, I watched Pig. Go ahead.
Before we get your Pig thoughts, I have to interject. We talk about HBO Max a lot because almost every movie we do is always on HBO Max, but I use Hulu the most at any service that I have.
Stop.
No, that's
I'm
not
always
true.
on Hulu. Adventure Time, Futurama. We've been doing Always Sunny.
That's background noise.
Yeah, you're
Sometimes you
working
need
through
background noise. This is family time, Futurama.
Hulu, the service that specializes in background noise.
Listen,
Love you, Hulu.
listen, not to belabor the point, but I pay for that Disney triple play, whatever that. You get ESPN, you get Hulu, and you get Disney no ads.
The bundle.
And then I get hockey in that bundle.
You need your hockey.
Let's move on.
Gotta get that hockey. All right, Proto, continue, Pig.
Yeah, Pig. I gave it 3 stars. I felt like it was kind of missing something. It felt like an idea
Wrong.
that wasn't fully. It needed more time in the oven. This is such a slim movie, though. You love these half-baked movies. This is just like what are those other 2 movies that I think of? Oh, You Were Never Really There. That Joaquin Phoenix movie's Half-Baked, and then that
Half-Baked.
Schrader movie. First Reformed is a half-baked movie where
gosh,
this movie is like of that vibe, and I see like you love all those movies.
Yeah,
he does.
So definitely a slim movie. But it was. I mean, Nicolas Cage is great, and I wish there was more Pig. The Pig was amazing. I love the Pig.
You and Jack got this straight. What a week for Proto. I'm excited to see this Titan review. This could break or make the Discord with this review of Titan from Proto.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Plan on it.
We have some new friends on Patreon to say hello to. You can join us get access to our VHS Village Discord, exclusive episodes in the VHS Village Vault. We're at almost 25 episodes in there. We mentioned Twilight in an episode that will have not dropped yet on this feed, but what if Twilight makes it to the main feed? My God. And you get discounts on Danny's art, discounts on the VHS Village storefront. And Christopher and FT Kawa joined us this week on Patreon. So thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thanks.
Danny, what did you watch this week?
I watched I watched 4 movies, but 2 were to get caught up. I'm doing my best to get caught up on the Oscar Best Picture noms. I've kind of rounded out everything that I can see before next week. So I watched Belfast, which feels, I didn't realize how polarizing these reviews were coming in for this film. I didn't know that so many people.
Someone took a dump on this movie earlier today.
There's a few in our Discord in our village.
A lot of dumps.
Took some steamers on it. But I still loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked the child actor. I love his performance with his grandparents. There's a lot of stuff that I connected with, at least on that front. I'm not really connected with, I guess, emotionally drawn to having a relationship with grandparents, which I never had. And it really, when films kind of portray that with children and their grandparents, I get really emotional about it. So that kind of tugged on some strings for me. Got around to watching CODA, which I didn't think I was going to watch because nothing about that movie looked appealing, but I gave it 5 stars. I
saw that come through.
This movie has the visual stylings of a very old, bad Disney TV show. Like there's nothing to write home about. The cinematography is I can't get over how bad this movie looked. That being said, the performances and the story were just tugging at my heartstrings this whole time. It's especially her performances with her father. I was just really kind of loving this. And it felt like a foreign film because of so much of the sign language and just watching how people have to communicate like that and them leaning so heavily on their daughter to translate for them and be there for them. And there's just some really great moments and the performances are really good. So it's 5 stars for what a great emotional ride and to have a film that felt, different. I mean, I've never watched a film so heavily relying on sign language and it was kind of beautiful. And
Did you cry?
Yes. There's a scene, a father-daughter scene that got me. It really got me good. I really enjoyed it.
Saw Casey, your partner, also dropped a 5-star.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I mean, that's also feels like a polarizing reviews in our village as well. But
I mean, you took a steamy steamer on the visuals of the movie.
It's like, did they even hire a cinematographer in this film?
My word. That was Danny that said that. For people taking notes.
Anyway, then I thought I'd get brave and jump into a Tarkovsky movie.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
I was scrolling through the Criterion channel and the mirror box art that I've seen around for Criterion has always intrigued me. It's a great cover. And so I started Mirror and I just realized watching this, I got about 45 minutes into it, maybe an hour in, and Tarkovsky is not for me. This is not a film director that I can connect with. And I know people love his work and we've covered Solaris on our show. And I felt the same then as I do now with, it's not my cup of tea for cinema. And I don't know if I will revisit unless one of you pick a movie of his, but I mean, there is some great, what I saw, there's some beautiful shots. It's really gorgeous. The performances are cool, but man, there's something about it that I just wasn't connecting with and I turned it off. And I think I'm done. I don't think that's my kind of movies. It's not my film.
4-star from Proto on this movie, Mirror.
Yeah.
Tarkovsky he's a vibe.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's just a vibe of cinema that I just is not for me.
Yeah, that poster is very good on Letterboxd right now. Mirror.
And then real quick, I watched the documentary I Am Heath Ledger leading up to this week, and it's a beautiful
I've never even heard of that.
portrayal of his life. Luckily, he was the kind of person that filmed everything he did outside of movies. So there's so much home footage and handheld cameras of him, and some voiceovers of him talking, and a lot of his friends and family and close actors that were a part of his life. And it made me miss him so much more. I know we'll talk about it coming up, but yeah, it was a lot to handle, but I really enjoyed it.
Man, this banner shot of him on Letterboxd is amazing.
Yeah, it's really,
it's gorgeous.
It's what Jess said in the chat. It really is it's so weird to have someone documented like this who dies so young, but to see so much footage of him young and full of life, and it's just one of those things. I cannot believe he's gone still at this point.
We'll get into The Dark Knight in just mere moments.
Stay with us.
It's right around the corner. You can use the chapters to skip ahead if you so desire. Every week we give away a free year of Letterboxd Pro to a friend that shares the show on social media, gets rid of third-party ads. You can see where all these movies are streaming on your favorite services, get notified when they're available, put them on your watch list, so a bunch of other features that are well worth it. And this week's winner is Oscar Ventura on Twitter for sharing the show. Congratulations, Oscar.
Congrats.
Just briefly, because I want to get into The Dark Knight. We have a lot of voicemails to get to. I watched this movie called Shakedown this week because my dear friends at the Bat and Spider podcast announced that was going to be their next film.
Okay.
And I had never heard of this movie. 1988, Peter Weller, a.k.a. RoboCop, and Sam Elliott, who you might know from Roadhouse or A Star is Born. Peter Weller plays a lawyer in this. He teams up with Sam Elliott, undercover cop, to take down some crooked cops. Give it 4 stars.
Wow.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it with a stick. So if you're a Peter Weller fan like myself, you owe it to yourself to check that out and listen to the Bat and Spider podcast for filth movies that they cover.
Did it have a good score? I feel like that movie had a good score.
Oh my God. Late 80s score. I mean, the music that hits once the credits roll.
Oh my gosh.
I was sent into a fugue state immediately.
I might need to.
This cover, so the director did this other movie called The Protector starring Jackie Chan. Look at this poster of Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I would love to just go through the Jackie Chan filmography at some point.
Yes, we need to do a Jackie Chan.
We have to.
We're way overdue.
Oh,
I've been thinking about this for months.
Oh.
You have the
have the power.
At some point.
It's the power in my hands.
All right, it's time to get into The Dark Knight. This is the main course. People have been electrified at the thought of this episode. They're electrified at the thought of Danny's art.
Sheesh.
The hype is nuclear to the point where Danny regrets the art that he made. He just thinks it's not good enough. I
second-guessed everything at this point. God.
But it's gorgeous. Pardo, what is The Dark Knight?
Gotham's criminal underbelly is reeling as the police are going after their money with the help of Batman, who has no jurisdiction and can find you on the other side of the world. But as the noose tightens, a new kind of criminal emerges that isn't bent towards just crime, but also towards the clang of chaos. The Joker doesn't want money or infamy, but he wants the Batman. Having put in 500 hours of planning and administration time, the Joker unleashes a string of kidnappings and rigged explosives that will test Batman's resolve. The Dark Knight.
Is Joker the biggest mastermind in the history of film?
Yes.
Has anyone defeated his plans?
This plan, it's
we'll get
a
into
stone
it.
cold lock.
We'll get into it. I mean, the planning alone required from the Joker for this movie. We talked about it last week before we get into our top 3 from each host. The feeling of Batman Begins ending and that the Joker could potentially be in the next movie. And you have to wait years to see if it comes to fruition. And you get the excitement level. Like, you've got the first movie done, set the stage, and now you can really amp it up. And then the teaser trailer hits.
I knew the mob wouldn't go down without a fight. But this is different. They've crossed the line.
You crossed the line first, sir. You hammered them. And in their desperation, they turned to a man they didn't fully understand. Some men aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Starting tonight, people will die. I'm a man of my word.
It's no visuals from the movie. You hear some quotes, and then you hear Heath Ledger for the first time as a Joker. Like, I replayed that trailer when this came out a million times. A million times. Danny, what about you?
I felt like, as a massive Batman fan, that we were gearing up for something very special. I couldn't get over the whole ARG stuff they were doing with leading up to this, especially when, I mean, the trailer that released after the ARG stuff was a Joker graffitied, like, ripped up trailer as well. Like, we didn't even get the real trailer. Their marketing behind releasing of this film was brilliant.
Everyone in charge of marketing this film is probably on a beach somewhere. They made billions of dollars. They don't have to do this ever again. They're swimming right now.
100%.
Berto, where were you? Dark Knight, 2008.
I was feeling cautious because the way I feel about Batman Begins now is the way I felt about it then. So, I saw that the teaser of the Joker card at the end of Batman Begins, and I was like, okay. But yeah, when the teaser came out, when the talk began of, like, even just the title, The Dark Knight, like, it was like I was getting, like, starting to feel something, like, if something happened, like getting tingly, when all this stuff was really, and, like, trying to stay, like, level, like, let's not get
calm.
Let's remember our past and hope for the best. But yeah, the hype was high because this is a movie with the Batman and the Joker is like the epitome of, especially at the time, of what I wanted from a comic book movie. Like, this is it. This is the thing that I'm waiting for. So as these things release and everything looks incredible, like, you can't help but be swept up in it.
Yeah. Danny, I feel like I know what your number one is, but what's your number one note for this viewing of The Dark Knight?
I was going to hold off and let maybe one of you guys talk about what my number one, what you think it is. So for me, another one of my points, the intro to this movie, the bank heist, the Michael Mann Heat homage to this intro is the music, the masks, the plan of killing one after another, so that it's just Joker left to take the money. Honest to God, this intro is probably my favorite out of. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this film anyway, but this intro itself gets me insanely pumped for the next, however long this film is after.
Yeah, I remember being in the theater as soon as, like, the first 5 seconds of this movie, like, where you see the first clown in the window, I was just like, oh my God, this, like, I feel like I knew right then, like, this was going to be something special. And there was, like, an air in the theater of, like, we're watching history right now.
Joker on the corner, unmasked, just his back to us, that slow pan up to him. It's stupid good. And it's like just that one Hans Zimmer note, that, like, slow building kind of ticking bomb of what's about to happen is brilliant. It really is.
That's a genius piece of music for this movie.
Yeah.
And I made this note about how this is like Heat Batman.
Yeah,
like, at this
100%.
point. And even sitting there, not to talk about 4K again, but watch this in 4K.
It's
like,
gorgeous.
It feels, I was like getting anxious almost. Like, this is so amped up at this point for like, even comparing it to Batman Begins. Like, Batman Begins is like grounded in realism, you know, but it's like fun. It's almost like there's nothing fun about this movie. It's just like chaotic and stressful. And this will touch on one of my points, and maybe we can get into it now, but like everything is set to like 11.
Right.
And one of my main notes is like, how do you even top this movie after this? Because everything is just the absolute worst case scenario in this movie. And it's them trying to solve it. So like at the end of this movie, I was like, oh my God, like at the time too, I thought like, where do you even go from here? Like, you've had the worst event possible happen. You've become a surveillance state to beat this threat. Like, there's nothing after this. Like, it should just end. Like, it's so hard to top because it's almost like the perfect movie.
Well, I just want to go back to the opening scene, and it was just like how you said everything's amped up to 11. That opening scene, to me, it feels so much like something out of a comic book too. Like, I feel like just like it could so easily translate. And I see what you're saying of how it's almost like it feels so tense, and there's like what's the word I'm looking for? Like an earnestness about it of like, this is serious drama right now. But I think it works in like some kind of strange way, because if it didn't have it, like the stuff in it is kind of campy. Like the clowns in the beginning with the masks, like they look over the top and ridiculous. And even the things they're saying to each other is like such comic book dialogue that it feels like if it was anyone else directing this would have felt so much more campy. But there's like that aspect of it where the dialogue feels a part, like it feels of the source material, but it looks so, like you're saying, like a Heat. Like a gangster, like a Scorsese movie.
No, it was legit meant to be an homage to Heat. Whatever the director's name is, I'm drawing a blank.
Michael Mann.
Yeah, no, of this movie, Christopher Nolan made the cast watch Heat before filming this scene, so that they would get into the mindset of what this bank heist was meant to be. I mean, even there's so many funny bits too in this, like when he puts the grenade in the guy's mouth and kind of fakes him out, like that's kind of silly, like that's funny. And then, you know, the no, I killed the bus driver, like that, and that busts through the wall and hits the guy. And it's just, this opening is so perfect.
Hannah is killing me tonight. The White Joker. In chat. Sorry. Yeah. Overall, like, this felt more comic booky than Batman Begins did. Batman Begins, you know, felt more real. Like, it just felt like a guy was dressed up like as a bat in real life and also able to get things done. This one felt like they got that out of the way, and they're like, now we can just do whatever the F we want and make it somewhat real. Proto, what's your number one?
My number one is the scene of Batman going to get Lau in China. That scene is absurd. Like, it is so cool. Like, well, I haven't seen this in a while. And like seeing it in 4K, Batman up on top of the building with the gun that's shooting like
the new suit.
In the new suit, him, base jumping off of it into the wings, into the window, getting pulled out with the plane, like that whole, it's incredible. And I was thinking of it, each movie, they always introduce some kind of, new Batman tech of some kind. And in the previous movies, it could be pretty wonky. So I was like, I'm glad they didn't go with like a bat plane or anything. Like the way they did it in this is so cool. Like him just having this suit to dive in, and just looking amazing. Like Batman looks amazing in the dark scenes.
Plus he can move his neck and he can move his head now.
Yeah.
That was one of your main points from last week's Batman Begins.
Huge upgrade for him. Yeah. How many times did that save his life?
This is my favorite bat suit, hands down. This suit is incredible.
This is a real good one. There was some discussion in Discord about how the mouth hole was a little too small for Christian Bale.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud. My number one, let's get into it. This is what I thought Danny's.
I knew someone else would have it.
Heath. Let's get into it. Every new person listening right now is like Milhouse on The Simpsons. When are they getting to the fireworks factory? Like, when are they going to talk about Heath? You haven't talked about Heath yet. Thank you, Kev. So let's get into it. Heath Ledger as the Joker. We talked about it in Discord today. I think it was Danny who posted the collage of people reacting to his casting on the internet. Sadly, nothing has changed in 10 years, 20 years. It's off the charts.
You wanted me. Here I am.
I wanted to see what you'd do. And you didn't disappoint. You let 5 people die. Then you let Dent take your place. Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
Where's Dent?
Those mob fools want you gone so they can get back to the way things were. But I know the truth. There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
Then why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers? No. No, you complete me.
You're garbage. You kills for money.
Don't talk like one of them. You're not. Even if you'd like to be.
It's bonkers what he was able to pull off. To the point where on this viewing, I was like curious how they even, like, I would have loved to have been in the meetings where they're all planning the Joker. Like, what do you want to do for the Joker for this movie? Like, what's his look? Like, and just being there, having Heath try things out, see what works, and then making it happen.
Well, Heath was a big part of designing that. I mean, he was a huge part of designing the look. He wanted to be involved in every aspect of creating the Joker. So he was a part of the costume design, the fitting, when they wanted to do test photos, he wanted to do his own makeup, which is why in some of the scenes in the movie, you see the white makeup still on his fingers. Like, that's from Heath doing his own makeup in that scene. So it's like he embodied the creation of this character, and then he molded it to what fit him perfectly.
One of the main things I wrote down in my Letterboxd review was the mouth noises from Heath this time around. I mean, I don't know if I ever noticed it before, but he is mushing those lips together when he talks.
Yeah. Big
time pointed out to me.
Mm-hmm. That's because the prosthetic on his lips, it comes off. And so to keep it from cutting the scene to fix his prosthetic, he would lick his lips to keep it on his lips.
Omar posted a gif of Matt.
And then just turned it straight into a character trait.
And it works so well because of like his scars. You can imagine just someone of his personality just like constantly licking these huge, scars in his mouth. Works perfectly. He is. I was struck by it of like that he wasn't trying to emulate some version of Joker. Like it really feels like this is his take on it, but at the same time, it feels like timeless for this character. Like it's a perfect fit. Even when you think of, when I think of Mark Hamill's voice, or like the Jack Nicholson approach, and like those are all valid and interesting in their own ways. But there is something about his take on it that what the Joker is about, what he's trying to accomplish. I love how he feels more like a gangster in this than just like a madman or something else. And just like the way I love the scene where the truck opens up and he just has like that automatic pistol and he just is like flailing it around like a crazy person, not really trying to do anything with it, almost like he just wants to pull the trigger for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Like, and he has so many moments where it's like he came up with like these expressions for this character that just fits so well for the personality. It's really incredible. Like it feels easy as you're watching it because you're like, oh, well, that's the Joker. That's the Joker. But it's like he had to come up with all this stuff and he had to do it on the screen, for every scene. It's really impressive.
Yeah, leading up to this movie, I didn't know Heath outside of 10 Things I Hate About You and A Knight's Tale. I don't even know that I've seen The Patriot at that point. Maybe I had, but him, I mean, everything he does in this film is captivating, and honestly, I can't like not get super emotional watching this anymore, because I really loved him in this as a person. And so when every scene that he's in, it almost feels like I'm watching it for the first time again. The same feelings I get, when he sits down with all the mob bosses at the table and Lau's on the TV and he does the disappearing pencil trick. And it's just...
And he kicks that door open behind him.
Yeah.
The way he kicks it behind him. I know, it's so crazy. And when he's pulling the grenades out by the string, like it's just... Every scene he's in, it's incredible. And for him to win the Oscar posthumously is incredible, but also he's only in this film for 33 minutes. Like this entire film, what feels like a Joker movie, he's only in it for like a fifth of the time, which is insanely wild to me.
Also, his makeup still holds up in 4K, which you can't say about Jack Nicholson's makeup.
It's also what I love about his makeup in this is it's so crisp, not crisp, but it's very well done when he's like meeting the mob bosses. But as time goes on, it's like slowly like wearing off his face. And it's as things get tenser and more insane, like it's just, I don't know. I kind of like that aspect of it. You can see his skin under the makeup. It's not perfect. Yeah. It's a really cool effect.
Pardo, what's your number 2?
My number 2, there is some insane dialogue in this movie. Batman Begins had some insane moments, but there's so many lines in this where I was just like either like shaking my head or like laughing out loud. And there's a lot of scenes where it's just like one-on-one characters between Bale, Michael Caine, Rachel Dawes, Harvey Dent, and Joker. They're all having scenes together where it's like one-on-one, and just like this dialogue that they're saying. Like, I was just cracking up. I was just dying every time Michael Caine had something to say. It just so silly to me, like, because it's just like this guy like saying to Bruce Wayne, this billionaire, you got to be Batman. Like this is who you are. Like giving them like pumping them up for this spiel, but it just like sounds so ridiculous at the same time because we're like talking about Batman. I don't know. Like I just couldn't get over Michael Caine's performance in this. He's just like so serious and so dramatic in what he's saying about Batman, and then it just sounds so ridiculous most of the time.
Poor Michael Caine. Imagine Michael's reaction to listening to this trilogy of episodes.
He's gonna be pissed.
He's gonna be PO'd.
Get a Michael Caine voicemail.
I don't have any notes about Michael this episode. I don't think. What do I
don't either.
What do I want to have as my number 2? Let's get my bad stuff out of the way. We're all friends here. Danny's got his notes prepared to rebuttal me. He knows exactly what I'm going to bring up. So in my last viewing of The Dark Knight was 2018, and I said that I like it less and less every time I watch it because I think I was one of those people that just watched it so much that I start to focus in and hone in on things that I don't love, because I obviously...
No, not you.
But the part of the movie that I don't love is the middle portion where Gordon fakes his death. And you get the interpersonal stuff between Batman and Dent and them thinking that the best plan is for the Batman to turn himself in to end this. Like, how stupid is Batman to think that turning yourself in is going to end this? Like, there's just zero chance that is going to be the solution to this. Like, are you a moron? So, in this viewing, I actually couldn't remember if Gordon's fake death was known by Batman or Dent. Like, that was just one of the things I couldn't remember. So, in this viewing, it's obvious that Gordon just worked on his own to pretend that he died. But that's just one portion where it just feels like a storyline beat that they could have just erased and maybe saved some time in the movie to make it even tighter, Because
Yeah.
Gordon as like the driver of the truck, that's also one of my least favorite scenes because you hear the dude in the car with him having all this dialogue and Gordon never says anything. And it just feels long on this viewing. Like, let's cut some of that stuff out. Also, additionally, like Joker planning on being captured is a big portion of that plot. Like he's anticipating failing and getting captured. And then he plans an explosive to go off at that exact moment in the jail. Or no, he makes the phone call. And then he's the only person left standing in that explosion. Like a lot of this stuff drifts so far into comic book land that it almost takes me out of the movie a little bit.
I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was at a loss to so much that happened in this.
There's a lot that happens.
Yeah.
You have to rewind almost.
I think it took me like 4 or 5 viewings to fully get, because the storytelling is so opaque at different points of how these things, like it's all there, but you really got to be paying attention and like connecting the dots for it all to make sense. I think I kind of take that for granted now because it's just like I'm familiar with it. But I remember like watching this in theater, I was like, I don't know what's going on with a lot of this stuff, but it's cool, I guess.
Dave points out in chat, it is a Nolan film.
Yeah, totally.
And you could say that like we're starting to get more mainstream Nolan now because his movies are very dense and with like plot beats that you have to really pay attention to, or else you're gonna miss a lot.
It almost feels on purpose, though. It's like if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss things. But also, that's going to cause this movie to feel more chaotic than it is. But it's meant to be this incredibly chaotic film. So it's like if you keep up, this movie feels insane. Like if you're following it to a perfect degree, like yes, this story feels like how does this work? Like how is Joker like not just one step ahead? Like he's like 20 clicks ahead of Batman at this point, especially when you talk about that scene, the jail scene, to know that to know that this plan has failed, but to have the cell phone stitched into a goon as well that also gets arrested in the same cell. Like, yes, this is where it reaches not necessarily not grounded in reality, but it definitely not grounded in plausibility. So it's like,
how many workshops are you having to come up with this entire plan? Like, how about them anticipating that there's going to be a helicopter? So like, let's have these two guys positioned at these 2 different skyscrapers to shoot wires across. Someone have to research how high do helicopters fly in between buildings. I mean, there's so much, on the back end to make this all happen. Of course, you don't really think about it, but it's just funny when you I just thinking of like the Joker with like 10 henchmen, like in a room with a whiteboard, like coming up with like a scheduled plan for the next 3 days.
But like that's what makes this film chaotic. Like to have this idea that an insane guy dressed as a clown is this far ahead of planning for Batman. I don't know. It just, honestly, I love it, but I think it plays very well into this film. And I love the Gordon bit. Like I love, his reactionary, I'm going to pretend to be dead to save my family from, what comes next. Cause he's obviously next after the commissioner's been killed and the Joker just tried to kill the mayor. So Gordon's next in line as who's else is going to be killed in this film.
I had to Google Reddit. Why did Jim Gordon fake his death?
Oh yeah. What did Reddit say?
This movie. They said the same thing.
Oh, good.
How about when they brought back that bullet from the exploded bullet to get the fingerprints?
Still doesn't make sense. I still don't even know how they got the fingerprint. I mean, I get that
it's nonsense.
Right.
That's
so it's
how
not
they did
plausible.
It's total nonsense.
It doesn't matter. It's Batman.
Who are we on? I think it's Danny's.
Sure.
Danny's turn.
One thing I realized in this viewing, how incredible that we get an entire story arc of a villain like Two-Face. We get his climb to, the White Knight of Gotham, to the entire, turning into a villain, just straight up murdering people as like getting back for the death of Rachel. all the way to his own death. Like the story arc of Two-Face in this one film that's already surrounded by the Joker. It's already surrounded by Batman dealing with the Joker. I mean, to get an actual, like I don't even know why we needed an entire story arc of Two-Face in this film, but it's there and I love it. And I get that you have 3 people in this film, Joker, Harvey Dent, and Bruce, all set out to do the same thing, is to change Gotham, but all doing it in their own way. And that's the most chaotic thing about this film. But I love Aaron Eckhart in this film. I think this still might be my favorite performance of Aaron's out of anything I've seen. I love him in this film.
He's got one of the weirdest deliveries of saying Batman out loud too. He's like, all right, take the Batman into custody. I'm the Batman.
I'm the Batman.
I'm the Batman.
I love that. Like, here he is. He's just like, I'm the Batman. He has no proof whatsoever. And they're just like, well, I guess he said he's the Batman. Let's arrest him. Then the cop just goes up and puts him in handcuffs like immediately.
I mean, yeah, that's
take
the plan.
his ass in. Yeah. Well, they didn't know that plan. It was his plan.
The cops knew.
But I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I don't think they told the cops. Well, how would they even trust the cops? What
Can't
cops
trust
What cops could they trust? You know, they're all working for the Joker.
Way too hard.
Danny's pissed.
I'm not pissed.
I love the dynamic between Gordon, Dent, and Batman. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the entire movie.
I mean,
and in the comics, that's also some of the best stuff that they've ever
pulling
done.
from, Year One and Long Halloween and The Killing Joke. I mean, this is like a combination of amazing Batman comics that we've had. Also in 4K, I was really worried about the Two-Face makeup.
Yeah.
But man, those close-up shots still look so damn good. I mean, it's really good. And it's so terrifying. What an insane way to show Two-Face in this film.
One of my other notes related to Harvey is something that really jumped out this time was Batman needing Harvey so he can retire.
Mm-hmm.
Like Harvey is his exit plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Harvey is doing the work that I can't do. He's succeeding. And this is my chance to leave and be with Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm out of the game.
Yeah.
This is finally. And then it just sucks. Like Harvey gets so screwed. Rachel, I mean, gets so screwed.
She definitely gets
dead.
screwed in this.
So her entire storyline kind of doesn't work out so well. But also Harvey's storyline. Like he was the great white hope for Batman. And then he becomes a villain. Like I thought that worked pretty well. Like he gets so screwed that he goes insane.
Mm-hmm. No choice.
Like he's not taking painkillers. His face is gone. How is he alive? He's got to be so psychotic from the pain. Mm-hmm. It's not even funny.
I love that the double motive of Batman in that of like, he wants to be able to allow Harvey to take up the mantle because, you were saying earlier of like, how could this plan even work? I guess I kind of buy that the plan of like Harvey taking over for Batman and Bruce Wayne retiring because they're cleaning up Gotham, like they're cleaning up the police department, like things are getting on track. They get all these people, all these criminals arrested. Like this is kind of like if Batman's going to take an exit, it's on this upswing of Gotham. So I kind of buy that. I think with the storytelling this time around, I thought it worked pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I kept thinking though while I was watching this. I'll go in my next point. I do have to update my list. I think with this movie, Bale does move to be the number one Batman.
What?
Excuse me.
First of all,
tell us.
He is gorgeous in these early scenes as Bruce Wayne.
He looks incredible. Amazing in this one.
His hair is unbelievable.
Thank you.
Like gorgeous.
Art pointed out in chat, Art pushing back slightly. How long has he been Batman here? Joker says a year ago no one would have challenged you 1 year and he's ready to retire. Art, you ever fought crime for a year?
Yeah, Art.
Put your body on the line.
Oh, this is what I kept thinking of. What if Christian Bale came back for one more movie as an older Batman?
Stop.
But alternate reality, alternate universe, he saved Rachel and Harvey Dent, but Harvey's still Two-Face. And Harvey and Rachel are living together. as Batman continues to fight crime, but he's still in love with her.
What is happening right now? This is
I'm just writing
Far
a
From
movie.
Home.
I love it.
Nolan, call me.
Chris, please.
So that was your third point. Make a multiverse Batman film.
Yes,
please.
starring Christian Bale still.
Okay.
Alternate ending to the greatest Batman movie of all time, The Dark Knight.
Wow. Okay. Danny, final.
Sure. My number 3, the interrogation scene with Batman and Joker. Easily the best scene in this film.
What?
Easily. Heath's performance in that scene alone. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait. What scene would you pick above the interrogation scene?
Not the scene where Batman is in the brightest lights of the movie. Batman looks terrible in that scene.
Oh, because of his costume and actual light.
Come on, what are we doing putting Batman under a spotlight? It looks
Cut his mic.
Back and forth scenes.
Cut his mic.
What do you mean? It's just like his face. It's
Enough. Turn him off.
Turn him off.
Dale, cut his mic, Dale.
Of some kind.
This is an iconic scene. Iconic scene in nerd circles.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Proto's just on the fringe a little bit. But yeah, the fact that Batman was in that room for the start of that scene and he just like slowly appears.
Yeah. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff said that Heath wanted Bale to not throw a punch. Like he wanted to be hit. He wanted to be slammed. There's a shot, when he lifts him against the wall when he finally tells him his plan. And he pulls the gauntlet. If you look to the right of Heath's head, there's a cracked tile, and it's from his head hitting it from before. There's so much physicality in that scene, and Heath alone, I can't get over that scene. It's incredible. His performance, him talking to Bruce as if they're the same person, and when the chips are down, they're going to turn on you too. It's incredible. It's perfect. Heath is perfect.
There's a couple, this is homage. That scene is a pretty obvious homage to a famous Alan Moore. Is it Boland who did the art for that comic book in that interrogation scene? And the scene also with Joker in the streets with Batman riding the motorcycle was almost like a weird homage to Batman 1989.
Yeah.
Of the Batwing scene
with the
he's
gun
flying down on him. Also, the truck stunt, I feel like, was everywhere when this movie came out. All of these big stunts were crazy. Also, we haven't even talked about Gotham. Gotham is very different from Batman Begins Gotham. I know it's a different city, Chicago, but visually, do they do Chicago in the first one too?
They don't change it until Rises. They go to Pittsburgh.
It looks like a totally different city.
It's
I don't know
because
if they have
don't
more
show
visual.
the Narrows in this. The Narrows are so grimy, so grungy.
Did they even say the Narrows in this movie?
No, not at all.
What happened to the Narrows in between Batman Begins and this movie? That they just
Well, that was the brown movie. This is the blue movie.
The Narrows.
And then the next movie is the gray movie.
They dropped a nuclear bomb on the Narrows.
Yeah.
And it's just not a problem anymore.
Right. Yeah. They cleaned it up.
Gentrification does it again.
Yeah.
Makes me friggin' sick.
Mm-hmm.
They renamed it this. I was going to say they renamed it the Slims, but that was too stupid.
The amount of white project managers that have moved into the new Narrows that live there with their little dogs. All right, my final point, I feel like I hit everything on my list for the Batman, The Dark Knight. Yeah, there's a couple other honorable mentions. How do they know the cops?
Excuse me?
How do they know the cops in Dent's van? Dent gets arrested. I'm the Batman. And he gets put in a van with cops. How do you assume that those cops aren't Joker's men? They've been talking about how there's Joker's men seated into every department. It's just such a gamble. What was that?
What?
That was my bell. I thought that was a great point.
What is going on right now?
I got a bell.
Wait. So what is the bell when someone makes a good point on this show? That was the first time all episode?
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you while you're speaking. So I figured that if you make a good point, I can just ring my bell and then you'll just know.
Hey, thank you. I am honored to be the first bell ringing recipient. So that was just a few things. You know, it's a Nolan movie. Some of the dialogue is pretty not great, but it's a fantastic film. It's 4.5 stars. It's an amazing film. It's legendary.
Nice.
So that's my rating for The Dark Knight. Danny looks like he's ready to retire from this podcast forever.
Let it out.
What's your final thoughts and rating for The Dark Knight?
Oh, my final thoughts. Let's see. Is there anything I missed? Well, yeah. I mean, of course, the Joker, Heath's performance in this is incredible. The thing I love about that character too is that he's just a man. Yeah, he's just a man with some makeup on. He doesn't have any cool gadgets. He, doesn't have any powers of any kind. He's just a man making his own way in the world. Can relate to that. I thought I love the scene. My favorite scene of the movie is the Harvey Dent transport scene. I think that's like right in the middle of the movie. To me, it's like the pinnacle of everything with the Joker. That scene in the underground tunnel with the truck. I think if he wrote a memoir, it would be called My Third Rocket, where he shoots it and he hit the Batmobile. But yeah, I love this movie. I think the first hour is like it might be my favorite of any of, superhero movies. But I don't know. I struggle with some of the the dialogue and whatever. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's an iconic movie. I'm at 4 stars for The Dark Knight.
4 stars. Wow. I do want to come back to one point that I had mentioned for my viewing was just how epic this movie is. It's almost like we're not at Dark Knight Rises yet. I'm not making any comments on Dark Knight Rises until next week. But this movie is so grand and epic that by the end of this movie, I'm thinking again, and I said earlier, but how do you top this? It's impossible to go anywhere from here because this movie was so good. You hit every storyline that is just so impossible for Batman to stop. So it's just man, what do you do next? So we'll find out next week. Really. Danny, final thoughts, honorable mentions. Right.
Yeah. Honorable mentions. We didn't talk too much, but we can talk about Maggie real quick and how great she was as a recast of Rachel. I think she's a great actress, and I really liked her in this film. For me, this movie is exactly what I set the bar to when I watch any other comic book movie at this point, and honestly, probably ruined the MCU for me because I gauge everything against this film. This film to me it obviously has its flaws, but it's a 5-star movie every time I watch it. I think it's incredibly game changing as far as just telling stories, more so than Batman. Batman Begins was fine as a starting point, but this film, I love the story, I love the writing, I love the performances. Everything about this kind of works for me on every level. And so, yes, it's 5 stars, but this film means a lot to me. This is my favorite comic book movie still of all time. And so anytime I watch it, I get the same feelings, same reactions. And I'm just enthralled with it.
When you're finished, type in your name.
How about when Harvey Dent doesn't realize that the nurse is the Joker until he takes off
Nurse
the face
Joker.
mask?
That whole scene is so good. Stop.
How about the guy? How about the prisoner who's on the ferry? He gets up and his bravery to go and pick up the trigger in the box and then put it and then throw it out the window.
But it was like a weird toss.
Yeah.
The trigger hits the top of the window and flails out. They couldn't have shot it a second time. Try to get it right through the window this time.
Reality. This is reality.
It hit the window and then it just cut to the whole ship blowing up. He accidentally triggered it.
Very risky move. Beck, I do want to call out Beck's comment. Where'd it go? Poor Rachel Daw is basically just serving as the mental well-being and beacon for two unstable men. It is true. Like, you can say that the relationship between her and Bruce was, fulfilling for maybe like one of them, but I kind of alluded to it last week. Like, her character could have just been Harvey Dent in the first two movies. Like their friend, like I said last week, their friendship and then just deteriorating over time.
So you don't want any females in this movie?
Yeah,
I was going to say, like, I don't want to just not have any female love interest, but like, is she better served to be in the movie and murdered and, by the second movie or not to be in the movie at all? I don't know. It's not for me to say.
I keep thinking about that idea, like how, I don't know, like that, how much more impactful it might have been of Harvey's character if he was in the first movie and if their relationship was stronger and just the connection over two movies. Yeah. What could have been?
Brothers.
But yeah, that's the only woman in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz and chat, but do we want Nolan writing women?
It's a real good question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you better pick up. Holy crap.
Hold on. Hold on. Bat phone is ringing. Let me see.
Answer.
Let me pick up the phone here and see who this might be.
Hey, 70mm, it's me, the Batman. This week you're covering me, the Dark Knight. A story about me. Some people get a few things wrong, and I want to set the record straight. First,
sorry, I gotta pause it. I'm just picturing what room of the house Proto is in when he's recording this Batman VM, so that like nobody can walk in. Like Alvin walking in, Jenna walking in. I need total silence in here for 2 minutes. Please don't interrupt me.
This one also sounds less like Batman and more like Proto this time, and it's the best.
I didn't get into the role as much as some.
everyone knows that I am the Dark Knight. If it was about the Joker, it would have been called the Joker. Or Why So Serious? But some people just want to see me upset. But I will endure. I'll take it. They'll hate you. They'll hate me for it. But that's the point of Batman. He can be the outcast. He can make the choice that no one else can make. The right choice. Another thing. There's been a lot of confusion about what I said to the Batlings. Did I say hockey pads or hockey pads? For the final time, I said hockey pads. I hope that clears the air. Okay, love you. I'm hanging up now.
Oh my God. Thanks for calling in, Batman.
Thanks, Batman.
We didn't even talk about the ending, that famous Bat speech till that VM from the Batman calling in just now. That movie, that scene, if you showed that to a nerd on the streets, they'd go comatose. The scene of Batman saying that speech and riding off into the light. Oh my God.
Big time.
And then Joker, little James Gordon, talking to Jim Gordon. Why is he running?
Little James. Should have been Barbara.
Little James know that in the comics, he grows up to be a murdering psychopath.
Spoilers.
Little does he know.
Fuck.
All right, we have some VMs and letters to get to. Buckle up. You can leave one for us in the future at 70mmpod.com, or you can just shoot an email to 70mmpod@gmail.com. What do we want to get to first? Let's get to some of these letters, I think. We got a few. Rude Boy Pete. It's your dude, Rude Boy Pete here. First time, long time, loving what you're doing. Thank you. I'm sure you'll get a lot of fan input as to why The Dark Knight is the best in the trilogy. And it is. Don't be swayed otherwise. And I think wanted to point out a lesser discussed reason it rules. Before I became a Canadian, I lived in Chicago for 6 years and was living there when TDK dropped. As a new Chicagoan, I brought all the way in on what makes a great city and quickly developed a prideful chip on my shoulder that all Chicagoans have because we want the world to know how overlooked and underappreciated the place is. When TDK released, it was a moment for Chicago. It felt like a coming out party for the city. Whereas Batman Begins did use some key Chicago landmarks for its Gotham, the merchandise mart as Arkham Asylum is a stroke of genius. It often added too much CGI to make it easily recognizable. TDK stripped all that away and showed Chicago as Gotham in a far more unfiltered way. The river, Navy Pier, the underground Pedway, the Chicago post office, and a gazillion more locations were on full display. Even though Gotham was a corrupt hellhole, you could tell Nolan filmed it with love, and we loved him right back. So, yeah, I love The Dark Knight a lot, but especially because it reminds me of how much Chicago rules. I'm going to go eat a Chicago hot dog right now. Do you guys put ketchup on hot dogs? If so, for shame. Love you, bye, Rude Boy Pete. I don't put hot dogs.
Excuse me?
I don't put ketchup on my hot dogs. I don't put hot dogs on my ketchup. Eat those bad boys plain.
Rude Boy's right, though. When I went to Chicago right after this movie came out, I went to I scouted out the filming locations. I shared in Discord all my photos from the spots of the bank heist and where Heath was on the corner. I went to the bar where where Gordon arrests everything. We snuck up to the, Batman's penthouse. We got to the top of that building. I mean, it's incredible what they did in Chicago. And I love that city quite a lot for it.
I went to Chicago once for a comic convention. I stayed in like a haunted hotel. Maybe some Chicagoans know what hotel that is.
The Congress.
I don't remember the name. Not sure.
Is that what it's called? The Congress?
But I did have some deep dish pizza for the first time. Ran across the pier. Proto, any thoughts on Chicago?
Lou Malnati's pizza is my fave. Is that right?
I'd love to try deep dish. I've never had, authentic deep dish. Someday.
There's been a lot of talk about a potential 70mm VHS Village meetup in Chicago.
That's plausible.
Oh,
I'm down.
Plausible?
I love Chicago.
Really?
Chicago. Right? Is that how it goes?
No.
Chicago.
Next letter comes from Scott. Hey, 70mm pod guys. Dark Knight is probably my fave hero comic book film of all time. That being said, when Protolexis stated last week he gave Batman Begins 2 stars, I almost drove my car purposefully into oncoming traffic while listening.
Yeesh. That's murder.
I was seeing red. I did calm down after a few moments and realized that it's okay. Everyone has their own opinion on films, and his is more artsy, less fartsy. But I'm starting to see a pattern with Proto that aligns with being the Simon Cowell of the group.
Oh my gosh.
All's good, and just an FYI on Kane speak. If you say, my cocaine, you've just done your best impression of Michael Caine telling you his name. And that comes from Scott.
Scott's not messing around on that.
Wow.
He's not messing.
Some strong words in that email.
The Simon Cowell.
The Simon Cowell of 70mm.
Is he still around, Simon Cowell?
Yeah.
No idea. But it's officially just started snowing. I can hear it.
That just makes Slim Paula Abdul. So I'm okay with that.
Paula Abdul? You kidding me? I take that as a huge compliment. We going to have a dance party in Chicago during our meetup?
Your calves alone.
No dance floor is ready for my calves. It might be too dangerous.
That would make Danny What's Up Dog.
Let's see. Let's get a VM to break up the pace a little bit here. Now, we have a first-time VMer, and it's a little bit long. So I'm going to allow it because they're a first-timer, and it's The Dark Knight, and it's probably praise for The Dark Knight, so Danny's especially going to allow it.
Someone's got to praise it.
Hello, 70mm podcast. Ben here. Huge fan. Going to start with a little bit of honesty up front. When I started listening to you guys, you weren't big fans of one of my favorite films of all time.
That's how it starts.
And
welcome to the
that
club.
turned me off for a bit. But I'm back because you know what? Different opinions are good. That's great. That's what I love about this art form that we call film. There's so many different elements to it, and we can have our varying opinions. So just wanted to get that out there because I love you guys. However, I'm really here because of Batman. Yes. Holy smokes. We're talking The Dark Knight. But last week's Batman Begins, so good. It reinvigorated a lot of people for Batman. I had been reading Long Halloween and Dark Victory in year one prior to that movie coming out. Yes. So I was just, I was mind blown. But Dark Knight, we could talk a long time about Heath Ledger's performance, about the visual effects of Two-Face, about Batman actually being able to turn his neck. Oh my word, they finally did it. But I want to share my viewing story when I saw this film in theaters. So I had taken a trip to Colorado, and my friends were all back home in Wisconsin, so I couldn't go see it with them, which was a huge bummer. But I was determined to go see it in IMAX in Denver, Colorado. I was on this trip. I had met a couple people. I got this guy to go with me. It was like a 2-hour drive to Denver. We drove to Denver. We saw this thing on IMAX, and I was euphoric. It was probably one of the greatest film viewing experiences of my life. I mean, it's Batman on the big screen, Joker on the big screen. Oh my word. So then, movie's over. We get in the car. I'm giddy as all get out. And this guy, I turn to him and say, "Oh, what did you think?" It was fine. That was his response to this film. It was fine. And he didn't really like it.
Oh, man.
Guys, I drove 2 hours home with this dingus.
Oh, my gosh.
In silence after watching The Dark Knight.
Great word.
Talk about an emotional roller coaster. I was exploding. My mind was blown. And I couldn't even have a conversation about it. So that was my original experience. I've gone on to watch it, maybe 50 times. I don't even know at this point. I love it. I'm excited to hear what you guys say. Proto, dear God, please give it more than 2 stars, please. At least a 4-banger for this one, but I'm not going to be upset if it's a 5. Thank you guys for everything you do. Thanks for letting me share my story. And can we just talk about Robert Pattinson's complete 180 as an actor? How do you go from Twilight to Bruce Wayne? I don't know, but man, am I excited for the Batman.
He's always
I love you guys, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Cedric Diggory, ever heard of him?
Robert's always been on top.
Always been. Yeah, I think our eyes opened up during that Twilight episode that we did just for supporters. Big time. Especially that
eyes wide open.
That gasp he made. That revulsion gasp when he smelled her across that classroom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pheromones alone.
The pheromone levels.
Remember him kicking that apple up with his foot, catching it in his hands?
Him running special effects where he's just like suspended in midair and his little feet are running back and forth.
I forgot I made that shirt.
Oh my God.
It's still there?
Is that still in stock? My God.
I guess so.
The Robert t-shirt on VHSvillage.com. Check it out. All right, let's get to another letter here. We got one from a dear friend of ours, Catcher, co-host of the Cinernauts podcast. Subject line TDK forever. There is a scene in The Dark Knight where Batman is racing towards the Joker on his brand new bat cycle, expertly needling a high-strung wire under the wheels of a semi-truck and through a number of lampposts that lined the sidewalk, barreling down the street at 1,000,000 miles an hour toward what is essentially a brick wall. The level of nervous excitement in that scene barely captures the real-life anticipation me, my friends, and what felt like the rest of the world was feeling leading up to the opening night of The Dark Knight. Could any film possibly live up to this level of hype? In the theater that night, the audience watched as Batman slammed into and immediately crawled up the wall, spun around, and landed perfectly posed. The crowd erupted. It's still the best film-going experience I've ever had. Let me read it again. It's still the best film-going experience I've ever had. Okay?
That's incredible. Catcher.
Let that sink in. Episode 91. Like Batman himself, the Dark Knight film managed to not only live up to my/our wildest expectations and stick the landing, but it did so in style. I love this movie with all my heart. Love Catcher. P.S. The specific smell in that packed theater as we sat waiting for the film to start will never leave my sense memory. Thank you, Catcher.
Imagine our Chicago meetup. We screen The Dark Knight.
On
I'll be in the
home
lobby
turf.
eating hot dogs. Ordering. God, can you imagine the day-old hot dogs in that theater roller? Like that thing just stewing. We call ahead, tell them to put the hot dogs on like 2 days in advance.
Oh my gosh.
The
Let 'em
pop
marinate.
Stale bread.
when you bite into that hot dog.
Yeah, it cracks.
It's no longer
God.
meat after 2 days. In there.
Last week, I actually, got a VM from H, co-host of Dune Pod, for Batman Begins. So let's break up the Dark Knight love fest for a moment and hear what H has to say about Batman Begins.
Hey, you guys, it's H. I just wanted to call in and say thank you so much for getting me to rewatch Batman Begins. I love this movie. I've seen it many, many times. And I think the thing that is most powerful about it is the fact that they made this movie so freaking grounded, whether it's showing the armor or whether it is establishing how long things take as Bruce is getting up and running or spending years out in the world and doing his training and stuff. But the biggest thing was moving off of all of these elaborate Gothic sets that had been used in the previous movies and making this feel like the real world, including daytime shooting. It made it so much more real and wonderful for me. I was just way into it. The other thing I'll say is I remember seeing American Psycho in the theaters and thinking, just watching Christian Bale's performance and just thinking, this is Batman. Like, this is the psycho rich boy that is out there enjoying pummeling people. And so I was pretty thrilled when he got cast later on. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to the rest of the journey, at least through Dark Knight. And I don't know what to say about Rises. I guess we'll see when we get there. Love you guys. Take good care. Ciao.
Shots fired.
He's always going to get a shot in.
That's classic H from Dune Pod. I just too want to point out the emotional state of this team ahead of The Dark Knight Rises. Danny, I just want to just let everyone know the fragile state of us ahead of Dark Knight Rises. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen it since theaters, to be honest.
What?
I don't know.
I haven't seen it since theaters.
I don't
know.
Show us how to feel.
Let's get another letter here from Jasher,
song?
who might be in chat right now. Jashzilla. Subject line, The Dark Knight. Hey, 70mm, huge fan of the show from New Zealand. Okay.
Yes.
And have spent the last few weeks binging the podcast while working. Thanks so much for the great discussions and entertainment. I absolutely love The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger. Are you kidding me? Nothing more can be said about his incredible performance that hasn't already, but he's a god. Don't really have a question related to The Bat, but just wondering if you guys each have a favorite from this year's Best Picture noms. Oh. Love you guys, love 70mm, and love the community. Thanks for everything. That's Josh Zilla. Thank you, Josh. Best Picture fave, Danny. What's your pick out of that?
With Power of the Dog, Jane Campion. I want it. Definitely.
Pardo?
Let me look. Best Picture. I feel like it's between Power of the Dog and Nightmare Alley right now. I think I'd go Power of the Dog too, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to see Jane Campion win again. I really enjoyed The Power of the Dog. I think Licorice Pizza I gave 5 stars. I can't remember. Maybe 4.5 or 5 stars. But I would rather see The Power of the Dog win, personally. I don't want to see any other ones win. It'll be nice if Drive My Car won. There's a lot of love for that. I didn't love it myself.
It's tough to see that.
Dims to breaks, yeah. Next VM, who do we got here? Dear friend of the show, Andy Orlandi.
What is up, 70mm? Is Andy calling from Orlando. Just wanted to call in super quick because this week you guys are talking about The Dark Knight, which in my opinion is the best film of the whole trilogy. Just seeing what Nolan did with the story, really continuing this idea of Bruce wanting to walk away from being Batman to ultimately be with Rachel, was a really nice touch. Again, it makes sense why we see Bruce try so hard in putting all of his chips on Harvey Dent. And again, also just some beautiful shots in this movie with Batman on those rooftops, just absolutely gorgeous. And of course, Heath just did an incredible job with his performance as the Joker. Similar to last week, there are a few lines from this movie that I quote on the regular. If you're good at something, you don't do it for free. It's simple. We kill the Batman. Fancy seeing you here. And I'm sorry for everything. Lastly, that last scene between Two-Face, Gordon, and Batman, it gets me every time to the point that every couple months or so, I usually pull it up on YouTube just so I can rewatch it. In fact, Slim, if you want to edit that scene in right now, I'll pause for editing purposes. But just hearing Dent every time say, it's not about what I want, it's about what's fair. You thought we can be decent men in an indecent time always gets me. Anyways, I love the movie. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. I'm kind of nervous, actually, but I'll just say this, and Danny, we trust. All right, love you guys. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we didn't even talk about. There's a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
We did a 3-hour episode. Maybe we could cover everything, but there's...
In the most predictable person we trust.
He's a machine with the 5 stars.
I've always loved the line, unstoppable object meets an immovable force or whatever.
One of the, we'll probably talk about it a little bit with Rises, but with Heath's death, weren't there rumors that the original plot of Rises was the trial of the Joker? Does that sound familiar to you?
We'll get into it.
Save it for the show.
Wow.
You know what I found interesting in watching the documentary on Heath? I felt like there was so much negativity around his death that he, the drugs that he was on was because of his sleeping, because of this film, because the Joker tormented him. But man, it couldn't be more wrong listening to his friends and family talk about him and how much he loved this role. And even the cast members on set would say how much off camera Heath was smiling, having a great time. Leading up to this film, so much of he had insomnia. So he was already on sleeping pills to begin with. And then the toll of just being exhausted from this film. But even going further after filming, he got walking pneumonia on the set of the Parnassus movie. So his combination of all of his, drugs for that, drug for sleeping, just was a mess. And it is what killed him. But I felt like they tried to use the Joker as a reason for his overdose, and which could be more like furthest from the truth.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about all that stuff. Next VM comes in from Ben.
Danny, Proto, and Slim. It's Ben, aka No Soul, No Problem. Guys, The Dark Knight holds a very special place in my heart because it is one of probably my favorite theater going memories. Not because there was a crazy audience or, there was any sort of insane moments, but because I believe I was probably about 16 at the time. So I would have been of driving age. And I remember driving me and my mom to our local theater. We got into the big room there and sat down to watch what neither of us were really expecting to be the glory that was The Dark Knight. I very specifically remember leaving the theater with a sore arm because my mom consistently was jumping and grabbing my arm very tightly throughout the duration of the movie. I went and got a special edition DVD and it came with a Two-Face coin, which I carry in my wallet to this day to help me decide on spur-of-the-moment decisions. Obviously, there's plenty to talk about, but I won't do that. You guys have already done that. Thanks for covering this because it holds a very special place in my heart. Love you guys. Peace.
Oh, look out.
Production value.
That was just as shocking as Proto's bell. Remember the bell? What a nice memory to have. The Dark Knight.
The memories we made.
I think we have, let's see. We got Batman. We got Ben. We got the Bat Phone. Batman Begins Age. I think we have Dear friend of the show.
Did Scott, wasn't there a redacted email?
Oh, yeah. Scott from earlier, who called Proto the Simon Cowell of 70mm, had a redacted follow-up because I think he just incorrectly thought it was actually Danny who gave the 2 stars.
Oh.
That was his redaction. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Kev is our last VM.
Yes.
Kev and Mackenzie from our Discord have started up a new podcast, Austin Danger Podcast, as they follow the Austin Powers films. They're actually already done. I mean, it's only 3. But they are following the Dune Pod format, and they're drifting into other films. So if that tickles your fancy, which it does for me because Austin Powers is one of my all-time favorite movies, 5-banger every day of the week, check out that podcast.
Wow. Hey kids, Kev here. Big night tonight, no pressure. You're just doing The Dark Knight, the definitive masterpiece of our time, right?
Thank you.
You know, my memories of The Dark Knight start on opening night, midnight premiere. I went and got popcorn and missed the entire opening sequence.
God.
Or so I thought.
Wow.
When I got to the theater, the whole place, the lights were up and everybody was talking and stuff. And I had just figured out that, well, the reel had broken. And so they had to run the whole thing again, including the trailer for Zack Snyder's Watchmen. Which,
my gosh.
You know, we know better now, but felt like the last movie on earth with that Smashing Pumpkins needle drop. You kidding me?
Amazing.
You know, I really miss when trailers would be attached to movies like that. But then again,
drop a link.
if they were, we wouldn't have Nicole Kidman. I really loved this movie on the rewatch for this show, and the thing I noticed the most is the way the ensemble really makes the whole world feel more real. So with that in mind, ahem. Do you realize who you're dealing with? You and your friends are dead. These dogs are hungry.
Oh, God.
What if Harvey Dent were the kept Crusader? And many other memorable lines from the margins of The Dark Knight. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Amazing.
Cripes alive.
So many great lines.
So many.
I didn't even
What
do
a
my
voicemail.
I mean, I can't do any impressions after that.
My clowns are hostages.
My father.
The Smashing Pumpkins song in that Watchmen trailer got you amped for that Watchmen movie.
Oh, yeah.
What a trash movie,
100%.
too.
So, Zack Snyder knows how to cut a trailer.
He does.
There's one thing he does.
If only knew to cut a movie.
Oh my God.
Do we have to go back and watch Watchmen?
Watchmen is garbage. What a terrible movie.
I don't know about that.
The Watchmen is like the nerd holy grail, or it was for many years. Like when I grew up, Watchmen.
What an overrated book too.
All right, okay. Everyone's shadowboxing right now. Everyone's looking for a fight.
Some say Alan Moore's the Tarkovsky of comics.
I just want to make it known that I did not say any of these things. I love the Watchmen
owning a
comic
comic book store and do you have the Watchmen trade every day?
That's what people hear.
Get
about.
out of here.
We
don't sell this in my
we need
shop
to wrap
anymore.
this show up before we piss off any other listener about that loves the Watchmen.
We can do
comic
V for
book.
Vendetta instead.
I don't want to watch that. No way, Jose. Someone can
Why?
sub in. We'll get Ian
God.
to host that episode. That movie's banned from being chosen for this year.
What?
I'm putting a moratorium on that. I don't have any desire to watch
Why
that.
table this talk? What?
Well, why would I? No. Of all the movies we have at our disposal, we would watch V for Vendetta.
I think it's a must now.
I've never seen something like this.
No way. Ian, can someone at Ian in? There's like zero excitement level for me to watch that movie.
We just gave Doompod like 6 episodes to do
The
now.
vein in Slim's forehead is throbbing right now.
Of all the movies to do, let alone redoing a movie we've already done, V for Vendetta is at the bottom of the list. I think we got everybody this week. Long, full episode for The Dark Knight. Next week, we figure out how strong our friendships are.
Yeah.
For The Dark Knight Rises.
Big up.
Let's be frank with each other. Pardo, can you take us out this week? Next week, The Dark Knight Rises. Hopefully everyone watches along and sees how we really feel about it.
We had a great show. For a great
Didn't
movie.
even see him do it.
We'll get one final ride for our boy, Michael Caine. In Rises, I have no idea how I'm going to feel. I can't wait to find out.
Yes.
See everybody next week for The Dark Knight Rises. $70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.